Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Kalaye Sundarakaram Sadaika Priyadarshanam Ajnana Nashakam Devam Sadgurum Muralidharam Yasya Smarana Matrena Jihvayam Vardate Swayam Mahamantra Stambajami Muralidhara Deshikam Premavratam Yo Murali Ninadaihi Shri Krishna Rupena Purava Adyapi Soyam Muralidharakyo Pushnati Premna Bhuvanam Saharisham Sankirtite Mahamantre Tatra Virbhuya Takshanam Suprasanno Bhavedyastam Premika Varadam Bhaje Murali Mandita Karakamalam Munijana Mohanam Vyatyastapadam Vanamala Darinam Prema Bhakta Mandala Nitya Kirtitam Premika Varadam Ashrayeham Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanaha Tam Namami Harim Param. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki Jai. Greetings, friends. It indeed is a great pleasure to catch up with all of you in this session of Answers and Beyond. I offer my humble prostrations at the holy feet of beloved Guru Maharaj, by whose grace I've been blessed with this wonderful opportunity. And I wish to thank every one of you for taking the time and effort to be a part of this. Thank you so much. We will take this question that a friend from our satsang in India has sent us. It's actually a very straightforward question, but one that demands a rather elaborate answer. I was in conversation with a friend who also attends satsangs, and he asked me a very simple question. Is it possible to see God? I really did not know how to answer this. What would be your answer to this question? A lovely question. A very simple question. A very short question. Is it possible to see God? Can you see God? In other words, I will try to discuss the answer from anecdotes that happened in the lives of great saints, and also based on the teachings of our Swamiji. This question, can you see God, or can I see God, is a landmark question, especially those who read biographies of great saints, great Mahatmas, would be able to resonate with this question, a question that was often asked by the great ones to their gurus. This very question was the question which the young Narendra, later known as the world-renowned Swami Vivekananda, asked many different people, many great philosophers, until he finally reached the holy feet of his Guru, Gurudev, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Is it possible to see God? Have you seen God? Can I see God? If you read the biography of Gurudev, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, this search takes the young Narendra knocking at the doorsteps of many great individuals that lived at that time. Everybody gave an honest answer because intelligent and well-read as they were also honest about the fact that they hadn't had that direct experience of seeing God. It's one thing to read about God, it's entirely different to see God, or in other words, realize God, that experience, as opposed to the knowledge. Everybody gave an answer in their own words, in the manner in which they could explain to the young man, and he was not convinced. Nobody gave a straightforward answer. And one day, this question, this search is what prompted him to finally reach the holy feet of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And when he asked him this question, the answer came instantaneously. Gurudev said, yes, of course you can see God. Just as how you and I see each other, you can see God. And then he makes this very important point. But who wants to see God? People cry for many things of this world, but who cries to see God? This was the answer given by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa to young Narendra, Swami Vivekananda. And such an answer can only come from somebody who has had that experience himself, with all that confidence, with that surety. He says, yes, of course you can. And when he says, who wants it, he makes a very good point. When you truly want it, when you truly crave for it, it will happen. That's really the basis of spiritual sadhana itself. It's like how it is said, a fish, when thrown out of the water, like how they say fish out of water, does not say, oh, I'm suffocating. It does not write poems about it. It does not pick up a microphone and say that this is very uncomfortable for me, I'm going to choke. It simply chokes and dies. That's really what happens, isn't it? It is said that when such is the level of suffocation with worldliness, and when God or the divine or that truth is all that one wants, when that's the intensity of the craving, it happens on its own. God realization happens on its own. That's what Gurudev means when he says, who wants it these days? That's a tall order, of course. And all of us, with the grace of the Guru, wish to climb up those steps and get to that point one day. That is the whole point of this journey, isn't it? Of this birth and every birth that we have taken, to finally be able to make that progress, to have that craving and to realize God. So to see God is why we are here, and it will happen. Of course it will. When that craving gets intense. When this very question was posed to Yogi Ram Sarat Kumar, the greatest of Mahatmas, who blessed our land by his mere presence in Tiruvannamalai, he gave a very beautiful answer. He said very beautifully, if you want God alone, why do you choose to accept the existence of anything else? In other words, it's like asking, When somebody says, have you seen God? It's like asking back, can you see anything else? Everything is God. What else is there? But I, the ignorant, weak myself, all I see is the world, but all the Mahatmas see is God. It's the same thing. It's like the difference really lies in the perspective, isn't it? It's like the one that sees the light alone and nothing else. In everything, they see God, or God is everything. Both are one and the same. A very high goal, it may seem, but that's how it works, friends. I will explain this with this very beautiful answer that our Guru Maharaj gave when somebody asked a very similar question. Have you seen God? Somebody once asked our Swamiji, and Swamiji instantly replied, God is always seeing me, he said. Seems like a simple answer, but the most beautiful, apt and profound answer, isn't it? He says, God is always seeing me. What's so special about it? It is. If I think about the depth in that answer, I can understand that really explains spiritual progress. So how do I lead my life? At this point of time where I'm a believer, I believe that God, say, is in my altar or is in that temple. When I'm there, I believe I'm in God's presence, and when I step away, I think God is not there anymore. He doesn't see me and I don't see him, because he can't see past the four walls or the door or the window. And I go into the world and do whatever I can and whatever I like, because God cannot see me. It's okay if I behave and I'm in that room, in his presence. And then, after a while of believing in that, it's important to believe in that first. Of believing in that and being disciplined, at least in that space, a realization dawns on me that he's not just there in that space, he's everywhere. All around me, in every creature, in every being, in everything that lives and breathes, in everything that exists, in every rock, in every grain of sand, in every drop of rain. He's there everywhere. That realization happens after some time as I progress in this journey. And at that point of time, I also get better at how I am outside that room, outside that temple, outside that shrine, outside that altar. Oh, he can see me all the time after all. It's not as if I can escape his field of vision. And then I change. I try to be as honest as possible. I try to be kind to everybody. Because it's he after all. In everything. And he is always watching over me. So I put my life in order. It gets better. And then finally I get to a point where if he is in everything and everywhere, I am also part of him. Or it is God and God alone that exists, the highest ideal. In other words, to connect it back to Swamiji's answer, when he says, God always sees me, that's really what he means. When I learn to live initially with that faith, with that sense of discipline, that God is always watching me, little by little, my whole life, every thought and every word comes in alignment with his will. Because He's watching me always. There's not a single moment I can escape His field of vision. And when I learn to do that, that is meditation. That is spiritual progress. And one day, I will also have direct experience of that highest truth, where it is God and God alone and nothing else. So, to answer the question, is it possible to see God? Of course it is. But let's all hold on to these beautiful words of Swamiji. God always sees me. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.